Hello, YouTube. It's Veteran Mountain Man, and I realized the other day when I was doing a Minds political survey that the 1776 conservative movement is not really widely known. Apparently, we are part of a very minuscule kind of right-wing anti-authoritarian movement. And so I figured I would start doing a small series of very basic videos discussing what it means to follow the patterns of the 1776 conservative movement. And this will be the first one. So one of the things I think that is most important about being a 1776 conservative is information. You need to pay attention to the news cycle. And I don't mean listen to every outlet everywhere all the time. I mean, for crying out loud, that would boil your brains out your ears. Let's be realistic. But you do need to listen to several crossing sources to better understand the world around you. Case in point, while I denigrate CNN News for a lot of their fakery and their out-and-out lying mentality, I do read CNN. I also read Fox News. I watch Mark Levin. I watch Ben Shapiro. I also like to watch Sargon of Akkad and Thunderfoot on YouTube. And so a lot of these things are at cross purposes. Why? Well, if I only receive one side of the story, I am not actually informing myself. If all I get is, say, CNN or MSN or CBS or even Fox News, I am not going to get a balanced idea as to what's going on. And without balance, I can't truly understand when someone is attempting to fabricate something. Now, even with a diversity of sources, it's also important that your sources have different viewpoints of standing. Because if you listen to MSN and CNN and ABC, you might not actually get different opinions on the stories that you're listening to. And so, because you're not getting different opinions, and because you're not getting it presented in different ways, with additionally different sources, you're not going to get a diversified set of information. Because a lot of times, these stories are passed back and forth. So you have to make sure that when you're diversifying your information base, that you do it in a really functional pattern. And I know this is really hard because, oh my gosh, there are so many sources on the internet. How do I pick? How do I choose? Well, that becomes a problem. And what you have to do is you have to find 4 or 5 fairly reliable sources. Now, some of those can be new media, some of those can be old media, some of them can be alternative media. I mean, shoot, for crying out loud, I don't get Mark Levin's radio show, so I actually go through CRTV to get his opinion on what's going on. He does a fairly good job reporting from a very strictly Reagan-esque conservative viewpoint, where Sargon of Akkad does a more classical, liberal, European liberal viewpoint. And even Dave Rubin, who I watch on occasion, does a more American classic liberal viewpoint. Then we've got CNN with their cultural Marxist viewpoint. And we've got Fox News with their not quite traditional conservative, not quite rhino Republican reporting. Theirs is a little bit weirder to classify, but it is still very much I guess it would be a mainstream Republican viewpoint. And I know some of you are going to say, well, aren't you missing things like, say, the alt-right and, the alt-left media and things of that nature? I try to avoid too many media sources that are from extreme ends. Part of the reason is the further out to the ends you get when you source your media sources, the more likely you are to get widely contradicting ideas and concepts. And while wildly contradicting in some instances can be good, if everything you get is wildly contradicting, it tends to be discouraging. And I think that's why a lot of Americans have given up on the news. They hear a lot of wildly diverging ideas and a lot of very bad information, and it just sours them. So you need to be very careful on which sources you cultivate. I also recommend you cultivate a couple of sources for local news information that aren't just national news sources. In that case, I actually listen to talk radio in my local region. There's actually an FM talk radio station, and they play several different types of content on it. Well, that's about it for this topic. I'm glad you all are still continuing to join me. Remember to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you like what I'm doing. Also, feel free to comment and start a discourse with me, or you can come on over to minds.com/veteran mountain man and start up a topic of conversation with me in the comment section on this video. Thank you very much, and as always, have a good day.